And welcome back to Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win comes to us from Brandon, who asked the question, who would win a fight? Finn and Jake? Sorry, this is the best image I could find for some reason in order to have them both on the screen at the same time. Finn and Jake from Adventure Time versus Banjo Kazooie from Banjo Kazooie. I never actually played Banjo Kazooie, so I had to go in and look up their stuff. I also had to double check on Finn and Jake's abilities, just because I watched some Adventure Time, but I actually didn't watch a lot of it. It wasn't something I was overly into, but I have had Jake on the channel before. I've done him at least one fight with him. Not Jake. I've done Finn. Finn's the human. That said, I don't think I've done Jake. But anyway, Finn and Jake live in, I don't remember the name of the kingdom, but they are the main characters in Adventure Time. Now, in Adventure Time, Finn is unique, him right here, because he's the only human around. Like, humans have kind of gone extinct, and now, new individuals have risen up, it's a whole new world order, all that. So, Finn's very odd in this world. Now, because of that, he's only about, a 13 to 15, he's only a kid in his teens. So, physically, he's still a human. He doesn't really have anything beyond the physicality of a human in that sense. He has no supernatural abilities per se, although, in terms of fighting style, he is very good in hand-to-hand combat. In fact, he's better even than Jake is, though Jake even says he's probably the stronger of the two of them. But he's a very capable hand-to-hand fighter, capable swordsman. He's wielded multiple swords over the course of the series. Each of them are powerful in their own right, but none of them exactly have any... most of them don't have any real ability to them. Say maybe like the grass sword, which is a bit more malleable and can take root, and I think took root in his arm at one point and was able to help regrow his arm. That's the thing. Jake keeps losing his arm because it's supposedly his destiny to lose it. I think the last sword he ended up with was something called the Midnighter or something like that. Midnight something. Or End of Midnight, something along those lines. It's like a demon blade that has an eye in it. It supposedly has some dark properties to it. But Jake is he's a little impulsive and aggressive, but he is still a capable fighter, a good friend. He's nearly impervious to evil. He can't be corrupted really at all. He's a skilled swordsman, hand-to-hand combatant, also skilled at fighting against magic. Well, he himself doesn't really have magical-esque abilities, at least from what I could find. He is still very capable of combating magic. Jake is a dog shapeshifter hybrid. Now, he takes the form of a dog, and he's about 28 years old, according to, from what I understand. But he ages around the same rate as a human around that point. But Jake's main ability is the fact that he can manipulate his body, stretch it into God knows what forms, what sizes. There's a limitation to it, but it's a pretty large limitation. Like, his ceiling's pretty high on it. He can even morph his organs at will. He, at one point, to save himself from some poison, enlarged his liver. And enlarging his liver meant his liver was so much... Our bodies can only take... Science fact. Our bodies can only take so much. So, when we get hit with something that's toxic or poisonous, our liver processes it. But our liver can only process so much. So, a larger liver means it can process a lot more. And that's how he survived the poison. He can manipulate his bones. He can basically turn his fists into weapons as well. Turn his whole body's a weapon, really. But he even says he's not as skilled in the hand-to-hand combat as Jake, so he leaves that. As Finn, so he leaves that to Finn. He's also stated that he just kind of lacks the imagination for some things beyond what he does with his powers. But nonetheless, he's still an amazingly durable and powerful individual. Being basically kind of just stretchy and do whatever you want with his body, he's very difficult to injure in that regard, though nowhere near impossible to injure. Banjo and Kazooie, part of the Banjo Kazooie games, and man, they actually made a game for Xbox 360. I should have found that at one point because I have 360. I would have picked it up. Never played it for Nintendo. I've never played this game for Nintendo. This looks like a game. This looks like a game too that probably would have been up my alley if I'm going to be honest. So. I don't know, maybe I'll have to see if I can find a copy of Nuts and Bolts, as I think the last game they made was called. Or wait till they eventually come out with a new revamped version of this. Because it's for Nintendo, then it came out for Xbox 360. I'm wondering if we might get it for the Switch or something. Who knows? But Banjo Kazooie, I can't really. I'll admit, I don't remember, and I looked up their information. I don't remember exactly where they're from, but I know this: he's a brown bear. Now, so size-wise, he already has an advantage over Finn and Jake in Jake's base form, just as a brown bear. Brown bears at minimum are anywhere from 7 to 9 feet tall, and if you want to get into the big brown bears, you're talking about 10 to 12 feet tall. Those guys are monsters and weighing easily half a ton, no problem. And so that one's Banjo, and the Kazooie is the Breagull, I think they said the name of the species is. That lives basically rent-free apartment in his backpack. These guys are pretty much like the Jak and Dak, the Ratchet and Clank. They're a duo that work very well together. Now, in terms of actual abilities, Banjo himself doesn't have that many abilities. He can climb, he can swim, he's very strong and capable. I mean, he's got the abilities of a brown bear, pretty much. But his main abilities don't really come into play until you combine him with Kazooie. Combining with Kazooie allows him to do double taps, allows him to fly temporarily, allows him to transform into certain. He's got through the deal with a certain deity. I believe it's this one right here. It's either this one or the other female one that would allow. It's this one. I think. Either way. Allow him to turn him into different creatures. But then again, those creatures probably aren't as effective as a brown bear unless you're going with something even more powerful than a brown bear, like a rhino, an elephant, a shark, crocodile maybe. Those are some of the only animals I can think of that probably outmatch a brown bear. And even then, they have the big-ass versions of those animals. But they're animals that can get to a size that would match a brown bear. Brown bear, you don't want to mess with a brown bear. You actually don't want to mess with a black bear even more. Brown bear, if you play dead, it'll eventually leave you alone. Black bear, if you play dead, it will try to eat you. But still, because he's bipedal, at least in this equipment, at least this species of brown bear anyway, he's able to create fists, and therefore is a capable fighter in that regard, I'm imagining. Kazooie is a bird that lives in his backpack, a Breagull, I think it's called. And besides the fact that she can fly on her own, she's also capable of shooting out eggs from her mouth and her tuchus. So she shoots out of ass. She shoots out of fucking ass, okay? All those eggs can have different abilities. Now, through the magic, and I do believe it's the magic of not you, but what's the name of it? Wanabaya or something like that? That was the name of the deity. Kazooie can turn into a dragon, which looks something like this thing, except green and still has the wings. And then basically is able to shoot a flamethrower, as well as being able to fire infinite amounts of fire-based eggs. So, I mean, together they're very powerful, and they're obviously the heroes of the world. In the most recent game, they lost their memories, but we're now fighting. I believe it's this character was their main nemesis. So I believe they had to basically build a bunch of contraptions and machines to take her on. Plus they got a redesign. But ultimately, yeah, they're a Ratchet and Clank kind of duo. They're a Jak and Dak kind of duo. So yeah, they're a very effective combination. So these two met these two in a fight. Who would end up beating who? Well, I mean, Jake and Finn have had a lot of experience fighting multiple types of foes. So they would probably be the aggressor seeing these two, wondering what's going on. Jake would probably, go toe-to-toe with the brown bear while Finn tries to go after the bird as she flies off, but starts firing some eggs at him. He's blocking with his blade. He's good. He's slicing and dicing. Maybe she probably has a couple. I don't know all the eggs that Banjo or Kazooie has, but I'm certain she'd have a couple elemental eggs. He's got to, backtrack from there. She immediately goes back into the backpack, but Jake is able to overpower Banjo ultimately because Jake is just able to get that much bigger than Banjo. It's like, come on, you guys really want to take us on? We're Jake and Finn. We're the guys who said Adventureland. I'm calling it Adventureland. I don't know what the name is. I'm sure I can get so many people on my ass for not knowing the name of this. It's like, you should really look it up. Oh, get off my back, okay? Come on. I'm literally not going to read every comic of every character I do on this, or watch every show of everything that I do on this. that is slightly impractical, if I'm going to be honest. I just don't have that kind of time. Now, eventually, if I ever bump these up to a few less, but with actual like animation, that'd be different. I'd actually take a lot more time to maybe watch some episodes of a show and get an idea of what these guys can really do. But I'm just going off the information I have available to me, so I digress. I just know there's going to be people who get on my case for that. There's people who got on my case for like the last versus I did with Kurama versus Uzaru. I'm going to hold my tongue on some comments about that one, but needless to say, yeah, I'm going to hold my tongue. Regardless, back to the plot. So they're still duking at Banjo. It uses his abilities to basically turn into some creatures. Nothing. I doubt he could turn into anything that would really overwhelm Finn or Jake. Then Kazooie turns into a dragon mode, starts blasting a flamethrower. Then Finn gets behind Jake. Jake's taking the brunt of it. He's like, get a little toasty here, Finn. I got you. And then it comes in, throws his sword at Kazooie, and Kazooie almost throws an egg at it. It blasts the sword with the egg. Finn, though, jumps, grabs the sword, and then comes down and slices Banjo. Just, it's like, Banjo! Oh, I got you! And Finn just suddenly wraps around, Finn. Jake just suddenly wraps around Kazooie, just, I got you! And, ultimately, they're down for the count. The problem here for me, looking at these guys, and I'm sure I didn't get through everything they had. That's a problem with using video game characters. I've come to realize that, is that what you see in a game, and it's different when you're doing game versus game instead of game versus characters in their own world that isn't a game. Is that yes, you have all these abilities at your disposal in the game, but it's about how well as a player you play the game. So you can have all these abilities and suck at using them. That's why that's why people who get on my case for the Agent 47 versus John Wick fight, I'm like, you realize one started out as a video game character that if you're playing as a god tier player is god mode level. I did what I could, the best I could. Anyway, so I digress again. These two basically, the problem here is that they're not bringing anything to the table that Finn and Jake haven't already dealt with. And that's about it. They're not like between Dak and Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Dax, and these guys are the weakest of the three, bar none. But even still, they really don't bring anything to the table that these guys right here couldn't deal with. Especially when you see all the individuals they've fought over the years, over the seasons. So, yeah, ultimately, it's got to be Jake and Finn in my mind. These guys are just the stronger pair between these two. So, and not to say these guys aren't effective. Like, maybe a fight between... Oh, no, they would almost certainly lose to both Jak and Dax and Ratchet and Clank, if I'm going to be honest. But maybe like against like Spyro or Crash Bandicoot or something like that. Maybe they could do better than that, but... Ultimately, it comes down to the fact that these guys have just had more experience against stronger foes. So that's my thoughts on this fight. Let me know if you think it goes differently. Do you think Banjo and Kazooie? Do you think they could actually do better in this fight? Worse in this fight? I mean, I don't know if you can get any worse than losing. I mean, losing and then someone mocking you. I don't know. But yeah, ultimately, I got to go Jake and Finn. But what do you think? You think it's Jake and Finn, or you think it's Banjo and Kazooie? Put in the comments below, let me know. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, you want us to review something, put in the comments below, let us know. We'll get to it at some point. So thanks for watching. I'll be back. I got 2 what ifs to do, yesterday's and today's, because it's the week of what ifs. So I'll be back in a little bit. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.